Oh, okay. So today we have in Facebook my old friend Juan Manuel Gonzalez from Uruguay. It's more than a customer. He's a good friend who have visited me 3 or 4 years ago to Amazon, and we come to speak about wild discos, of course, and we come to speak about breeding wild discos. Juan, thanks a lot for accept my invite. Can you speak a little about yourself?
Okay, how are you, my friend? We are okay.
I'm okay. I'm in quarantine, but in Portugal now it's quite okay. You know, just a few cases and not don't die so many people like Spain and Italy and also in England. So Portuguese they are slow and they stay at home, so everything is okay now. I think the same in Uruguay.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, we're okay here, and as you know, well, we met personally 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago in the Amazon in Santarem, and I stayed there with you. I think it was 16 days. It was really a great experience. Something I want to make again. I tried last year and the year before, but different things, I couldn't do it. Well, now, as you see, we are here at the farm. That is my work. I work with cattle and sheep. That's my business. That's what I do for a living. Well, Discus is my hobby and my second life.
Yeah, but today we want to know how you breeding so many wild discos. That is my first question. Gonna be. I'm gonna start with the questions. Everybody can make questions. We have 14 people now listen what we say, but important to say this. Juan is one of the guys I know who have breeding more wild discos, and most of them they comes from Santarem discos. True. It's true that most of the discos you have is from Santarem discos.
Yes, all my wilds are from Santarem discos. Yes, I was checking some pictures, last pictures yesterday. I told you, and the first time I bought fish from you from Santarem discos was 12 years ago. 12 years ago was the first time I bought some fish from you, and with wilds I started a bit earlier with some fish I could find here, but the results were not good, and because the health of the fish were not good, the fish was stressed, and so that's why I decided 12 years ago to start buying from you. And yes, I've been breeding a lot. I don't have much time to breed, so I try to select a couple of couples. Now I have 2 or 3 couples that I want to breed with them. And yes, I had a bit of success, fortunately.
What is the is any secret to breeding wild discos? How that happened?
Well, I'm going to talk about what I do, my experience. I'm not a teacher. I don't know more than anyone else. There's a lot of people breeding wild discos, and I'm only going to tell you my experience. That is not a rule. It's what worked for me. So let's see.
One second. I see is a lot of Spanish people now looking listen what we say. Perhaps you speak in Spanish right now. Let's do like this. If any question in English, you reply in English, and if you don't mind, if any question in Spanish, I think it's better you speak in Spanish, because most of the time the people say, why all the time you just speak English and we don't understand nothing. So I think it's better you speak in Spanish for the Spanish and the people from Uruguay and Argentina.
Bueno, como te dije, Hugo, estábamos hablando recién sobre qué hacía yo o por qué tenía a veces buenos resultados en la cría de discos salvajes. Yo únicamente voy a hablar de lo que hago yo y no es una regla, es lo que me ha dado resultado a mí. No voy a dar una clase sobre cría de discos salvajes porque yo no soy un profesor, pero sí puedo mencionar las cosas que me han resultado o las cosas que hago para poder criar o para haber llegado a criar discos salvajes. Eso sí.
¿Y tiene algún segredo?
Well, creo que secreto no, pero sí hay una cosa que me parece que es la principal en el tema de mantener discos y más en el tema de discos salvajes. Muchas veces yo creo que el error del aficionado es el intentar lograr parámetros que no puede lograr, parámetros en el agua, y empieza a jugar con el agua como que fuera un juguete, y eso a mi manera de ver es fundamental. Los parámetros tienen que ser estables, siempre tienen que ser iguales, y no andar jugando con el agua como que fuera un juguete porque eso es catastrófico.
So you don't think it's... I'm going to speak in English because my Spanish is very bad. Lo pienso que no es necesario poner cosas en el agua, como acondicionadores y otras cosas más para abajo lo pH y por arriba lo pH y por... ¿Qué lo piensas?
No, dependiendo mucho de qué tipo de agua tenga uno, pero lo que yo digo es que mucha gente a veces quiere tener un pH, digamos, de 5, cuando no es necesario. No es necesario tener un pH de 5. Entonces, a veces esas personas quieren tener un pH de 5 y empiezan a hacer manejos del agua y no llegan de repente a ese pH, pero no tienen los parámetros estables. Y ahí es donde creo yo que se fracasa muchísimo. En mi caso, tengo unos parámetros que son estables. Tengo la suerte que el agua que tengo en mi zona, en Salto, en Uruguay, me sale de la red con parámetros bastante buenos y es el agua que uso. En realidad, en los acuarios tengo un pH de 6, 6,2, un KH que es alrededor de 1, que me ha dado bastantes problemas a veces el KH por no mantenerme el agua estable, pero ahora lo he subido un poco. Y bueno, y una conductividad de 130, 140 microsiemens. Esa es más o menos el agua. Después, creo que otra parte fundamental en la cría de discos salvajes es tener un cardumen de peces interesante. El comportamiento del disco salvaje cuando tiene un grupo de más de 6, digamos, es otro, es diferente. El comportamiento de los discos salvajes en cardumen es completamente diferente al de los discos domésticos. Y ahí yo creo que es gran parte también del éxito es tener un buen cardumen para que se empiecen a formar parejas. A mi manera de ver.
Claro. I have a question in English, of course. It's from Macedonia. Juan, how do you prepare them for breeding food, and how you keep the pH levels? So also what you say now in Spanish, perhaps we have some guys here to like to know what your parameters of the pH and the conductivity, and if you use osmosis and something like that.
Well, for the first question that you said, how do I feed my pairs? Well, I don't change much. I use beef hard. I use dry food and a lot of dried tubifex. That works really good for me. Leophilicite tubifex, I think it's called like that in English. I'm not sure. Yeah. And well, that's mostly what I give my fish. Most of the time. And sometimes when I have time and I can have the time to do it, brine shrimp, but adult brine shrimp. So that's mostly what I do, give my fish to eat.
So you use tap water. The pH is, you tell me in Spanish. Can you tell me again in English, because perhaps
okay.
you don't understand.
How my water, it comes from the tap, and it goes from the tap to 3 pre-filters, 1 for the sediments, and then 2 from activated carbon. That's only to take the chlorine and everything that has the water. And I am lucky that the water comes with a pH of 7 from the tap, 140 microsiemens in conductivity. And
how much? Sorry?
140 microsiemens.
140.
Yes.
140. It's
So
a very
then,
bad water.
that's why I'm lucky. That's why I don't do much. I have an osmosis equipment and everything, but I don't use it because with that water it works perfect.
For what? With the water with that conductivity, for what osmosis, isn't it?
That's why I have it, but I don't use it. Many years I don't use it. That's why I told you that I don't play much with the water, and I think it's a mistake. It's a mistake playing with the water without maintaining your parameters stable.
I'm absolutely. I think like you. We have talked about that in Amazon. I think the water is a mystery, and when we start to mix it and you know, make something in the water is under control many times. You know.
Yes, I many times say that people don't realize that changing the pH in 1 degree is changing the media 10 times. You change 1 degree in pH and you change 10 times the environment of the animal. So you have to be careful when you play with those things.
And when you change water, all the time you put the same chemical of water. If you have in your tank a pH 7, when you change water, the water is more or less the same pH, right?
Yes. In my case, the water is the same that I'm using in the aquariums, the same water that will enter the aquariums. Obviously, that when it comes from the tap, maybe the pH is near 7, but then in the tanks, pH will go down to 6.2, more or less. I had some problems, yes, with because the KH of my water is of the water of the tap is low, very low. It didn't reach 1, so I had a couple of incidents of the pH going really down, and I had to use coral sand in my filters just to make the stable, the KH stable, the pH stable. Sorry.
Yeah. So many times, how many times you change your water?
Well, it depends. It depends because, as I told you, I work with cattle and sheep. I stay most of the week at the farm working. So when I'm home, I maybe change a third of the tanks, or a bit more of a third of the tank every day, or maybe nearly half every 2 days or every 3 days. It's not regular because I do it when I can, and mostly I think the secret is not overfeeding.
Yeah.
One secret is not overfeeding. If you don't overfeed, fish can stay 3-4 days without eating and nothing happens. But if you overfeed, well, then yes, you have to have more regular changes, water changes than feeding normally.
Yeah, I think so. But you have in the past domestic discus, right?
Yes, many years ago, like 17 years ago.
And tell me, for your experience with domestic discus and with wild discus, don't you think the wild discus prefer hold water and not so much change of water?
Well, yes, I don't do much water changes. That was I was telling you that I don't do much water changes, and I think also that people ask me, I think wild discus are much harder, much tough fish to get sick or to get bacteria diseases. They are much tougher, I think.
Yeah. I have a nice question here, and do you use catap for your breeding tanks?
Well, I used to, but it's not easy to get it here, and also because the water for me is the water I have is really good. I don't need it.
Yeah, you know, I have tried the catap the last months, and what I found, it's because in Amazon I don't use catap, and finally in Europe I have some wild discus, and I used catap a few weeks ago, perhaps 1 month or 1 month and a half. What I see in catap is the conductivity down, and sometimes half of percent, 50%.
Well, because in the process of when the catapa is getting I don't know the term in English, but it gets destroyed by the time, it's getting some humidic acid on the water, so it gets down. But at what pH conductivity are you reaching with that?
I have another question here. It's from Moscow, Russia. The ankles refuse to eat dry tropical. How to teach? I don't know if you give some flakes or some grains to your fish.
Well, I use flakes and I use granules. I do. I mix a lot, but I think if they don't eat at the first time, they will eat it. Try to mix it with other type of foods. Yeah. Don't stay with the same one, but try to mix with other type of food, and they will eat it. They will eat. I think so. In my case, they do.
Yes, the problem is most of the time is when the people start to give beef heart and frozen food, and don't give any more flakes or bran. The fish, of course, is a habit. They just want to eat the beef heart. My advice, isn't it? So I think the best way is give everything and don't just give the beef heart or frozen food, or mix it, isn't it?
That's why I'm saying that if you mix it between the beef heart and flakes, granules, and different type of food, they will eat it. And also another thing, they will not die if they don't eat for 3-4 days. And in the end, they will eat it. They will eat it at the end. Yeah.
I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna say this in English. If you can reply, answer in Spanish, is better, because we have a lot of Spanish now, Spanish people. And don't you think breeding discos and wild discos, if you have, of course, a good quantity of fish in your tanks, it's not so difficult if you have a good water. Difficult is grow up the fish.
Well, I don't think it's difficult.
No,
because I have friends that now they have wild discus, and they're getting also getting success in breeding. And I know people that breed, if you have a good water, the most important thing is the fish, no? So mainly to get fish that are healthy, that are grown up, and they don't have problems. Then after that, you will not have any problems to breed wild discus. I'm sure that. I'm sure. In my experience with your fish, for example, because we talked a lot of times and many times, the fish arrive and maybe 3 months later, I have a couple's breeding or spawning, not breeding, but spawning. Now,
you think that happens because the fish arrive with good health and a good immune system, and they arrive, and after 3 months, 4 months, they start breeding. Also, that happens of course, in other places in the world. But you think it's because we keep the fish so well, and we make the quarantines and use medicaments?
Yes, absolutely. I'm totally convinced that it's that way. The fish arrive in well conditioned. They don't have to recover and get okay because they were bad treated. So they're okay, and they start trying to breed earlier. And I'm convinced about that. Yes, absolutely.
But of course, sometimes you have disease.
Yes, but not much. In my case, I don't have. I think I always say 99% of the problems that we have with fish is the water. 99%, and I'm convinced about that. Is the water. And if it's the water, then 99% of the problems is because our fault. And parasites, all the fish have some parasites. You will never get rid of 100% of the parasites because it's impossible. Yeah. So if you have bad conditions of water, bad conditions of what you do with the fish will get stressed and they will get sick. But it's our fault. It's not the fish.
I think so. I think many times the people ask me that, and and they say, "Oh, how is the success?" The success is the good quality water and the good water, of course. And when we made the medicaments, we made stress in the fish. any medicament, any drug we put in the water makes stress for the fish. So it's because I say to the people, okay, if you want to make a treatments made, but made just one time and made well. Don't make every month or every 3 months, and I think it's not good for fish.
I think also if you talk about treatments and medicaments and everything, if you are going to, for example, many people don't know the cycles of the parasites. And if you are going to treat because of the gills parasites, the parasite has a cycle. And if you don't know the cycle and how to treat it, you will never get rid of the parasite. And if you treat every month, useless. You have to treat the way the parasite has a cycle just to get rid of the cysts and the adult parasites and the ones that are growing. As an example, I'm saying that as an example.
But you sometimes you have dactylogills or gyrodactyls in your fish.
Well, that was what I was talking about. I don't, because I did some treatments. Most of the fish that came, for the example of Santarem fish, come nearly, let's say 90% are cleaned. 99% are cleaned. Sometimes maybe you can see some fish, but I don't know if the fish was parasite in the river and has an injury that they maintain the rest of their life because they have an open gill or something. But it doesn't mean that has a parasite at that moment. But as I was saying, if you do the treatment like it's supposed to be done for gills parasites, for dactylogyros or gyrodactyls, I do it as a precaution, nothing else.
But we have a nice question, is what is the temperature of your aquarium in Spanish? I don't know, what is your temperature in your aquarium?
Bueno, la temperatura en la que mantengo los discos es, los discos adultos están más o menos en 28, 29 grados, 28, trato de tenerlos en 28 grados, y ya los juveniles están un poquito más arriba, para que coman mejor y tengan un metabolismo un poco más elevado. Pero más o menos en ese entorno, 28 los adultos, 29, 30 los juveniles.
Again, I have a friend here. Can you give me the parameters of your breeding water of your wilds in English?
Well, the parameters that I breed, as I told you, conductivity in microsiemens, it's 140, 130, more or less. The pH is 6.2, more or less that.
Okay. I have a guy who I think also is from Moscow. It's the same. He asked, he make a 10% by day is enough. Do you still need to make a substitution? I don't think so. We made 3 change of water here by week. 10% or 5% sometimes. The fish don't like a lot of change of water. It's my opinion. It's
well, Hugo, it's like we said when we started. Also, it depends of if you are, for example, you have juvenile fish and you feed a lot with beef heart, for example, and your filtering system gets stuck, you will have to change more water. But if you don't overfeed, you don't have to make such so many changes, water changes, than if you do. So I change maybe 20% every 2 days, 3 days, more or less the same as you do.
Yeah. Do you have better Spanish with young or the old wild females?
Sorry, I didn't listen to the way you asked me.
Do you have better span with younger or old wild females?
If I have,
yes, you read the comments when the people made. You read.
I need my glasses. I don't see much. Well, I think I understood the question. Yes.
The question is, who put more eggs? Is the youngers or the old wild females?
Well, in my experience, they're not the old females, but the ones that are grown up, that are really adults with experience. They spawn a lot more. In my experience.
The young?
No, the ones that are in the middle. Not old, not young.
Not young.
No, but not old and not the very young ones. The ones that are in the middle age. That ones are the ones that spawn more quantity of eggs in my experience with my fish. But the young ones, they spawn, and the old ones also, but the middle-aged ones spawn a lot more.
Yeah. Another question. How does the pH go from 7 from the tap water to 6.2 in the aquarium?
Well, the water will go down because the organic media that you have on the tanks, it will go down. And I have also some logs and wood in the aquariums. In all my aquariums, I have woods and let's say branches and everything. It goes down. The water will go down, the pH.
You never use pit turf. You don't
what?
Pit turf.
No. Another thing, as I told you, the KH of my water is 1, so it tends to go down.
Well, one more question, French. What conductivity you keep your wilds after when you make they grow? The same conductivity.
The same conductivity. The same one.
So
maybe
you don't do nothing for the fish grow up. Just change the temperature, nothing more.
I could maybe use try to get the water harder by using the osmosis equipment and using the water that will be rejected. I could put it on the aquariums with the juvenile fish, so the water gets harder. But I don't really do it. I use the same water that I breed or maintain the fish in the tanks.
More simple. Don't
play with water.
Yes, I think so. That is my opinion.
I agree. I agree with that.
Yes, because it's crazy. People have a pH, then down the pH, then down the conductivity, then up, then down, then up, and the fish. I tell all the time to the people, is like you go to the mountain. The air in the mountain is totally different for the air in the city. So it's how comparate the change of water with different pH and conductivity. If you go to the mountain, the air it's more pure, right? If you go to the city, for example, like Shanghai or a big city, the air is with a lot of pollution. So it's the same. It's you don't feel well. The fish are not okay.
Yes, it's like the same example that I said when we started. If you change the 1 degree in pH, 1 degree, you are changing 10 times the environment of the animal. So that's why you have to be careful with the pH changes and not maintaining the water stable.
Is when there comes the stress, when comes the disease, when comes everything, when we...
Everything.
Okay, we have another one. There's a lot of questions, guys. Wait, Juan gonna answer all of them, but please give me a few seconds. Ok. Podemos ver dos aquários de ustedes hoy. I think it's better Juan send me some pictures and I put in Facebook. But in this Facebook, many times I put some pictures Juan send me for the aquariums and the system filter. Another question. Sorry, how is the mechanical or biologic filtration in your case, Juan? What is your filtration?
Well, in the tanks, for example, I have one tank, let's say 1,200 liters. I have 2 Fluval FX6 filters, plus some sponge filters, plus 3 sponge filters. And then another aquarium, the one is 840 liters. I have 2 Fluval FX6 in that one, and some sponges. In the breeding tanks, sponges only, and in the growing tanks, sponges only.
So very biologic and mechanical filters, simple. Yes, I think so. We have
and in the Fluval, the canisters, and the baskets, I have ceramic rings and bio-balls and bio-balls and the same stuff that people use.
We have a funny question here. But it's important to say I don't want to speak bad things about nobody. It's not my way, just in private, of course. But we have a question: is what temperature is better to maintain ankle Rio Negro, Rio Black? Ankle Black writes is between 28.6 and 29.6. 28.6 to 29.6. I don't know what you think about that, but my opinion is, and after living these years in Amazon, I never see the water with 29. And I think you have the same opinion, because you've been with Amazon with me, and we don't have see 28 for temperature. Perhaps 26 is no more than 26.5 sometimes. So I think it's not a good idea put a temperature so high. In my opinion, the fish, for example, in this farm, they are with 26.5. They're okay.
Well, yes, I maintain them, as I told you, in 28, but just because maybe I want them to eat a bit more, but I agree with you, because the water is not 29 in the Amazon and the rivers. And also, let's say, it doesn't change much in between communities, because it's the same climate and the same weather. Doesn't change, let's say, in Quipeua or in Iripichi, the temperature is mostly the same.
Yeah. Don't change too much. Also in Yamunda, UFC, the temperature sometimes is a little cold. It's not a high temperature like the people have in the aquariums. I think my advice all the time is keep between 26 and 27. If it's to grow up to I think perhaps 28, 29 to grow up more fast because the metabolism. I think it's what you have say.
Sometimes because you say, well, the thermometer or the heater is a bit not working really well, and you can see the fish are really breathing with an effort, and you check the temperature of the water and it's too high, and it happens that the fish gets without oxygen, and that's because the water is too high, the temperature is too high.
How many posturas, desovas, made a pair of wild discos? Is a question from Paul Fernandes, a friend of Santarem Discus.
Well,
by a year. Have you idea?
No. If in my case, I don't know, because if I separate them, and if I don't separate, they will continue spawning every week or every 2 weeks. They will continue spawning and spawning and spawning, and they don't stop. But so in their life, I don't know exactly how many times they will spawn in the life of the pair. I don't know. I really don't know. But
and you have a season for that happens?
I think in my case here, the best season for breeding is between autumn and spring.
And spring.
And spring.
I think is like in the environment. I think it's like in the place they are born. I think that the same happens in our aquariums. What do you think?
Yes, because it's you've seen it more than me, but the reproductive season of the discus in the Amazon is when the rivers with the water is high. They had the rivers flooded, and that starts end of summer, no? The rains start end of summer or midst of the summer.
Yeah, I think so. And one of these days, I listen a live chat also about a person in Portugal, a lady in Portugal. It's a very good breeding corridors. You know, corys?
Yes.
And it's funny because what she say is what I think about the wild discus. They have season to breeding in aquariums. So they start breeding at this, like that happens in the environment. I think the wilds is the same.
Well, yes. In my case, as I tell you, they for example, now I have 3 or 4 pairs that are spawning every week. They spawn, and they started spawning, let's say, maybe 2 weeks ago. And they spent all summer maybe doing nothing, and now they're starting to spawn. So And they continue
3, 4, 5 times a year, more.
Oh, more.
More.
If they don't breed, I'm talking spawning, only spawning, without breeding.
Yeah.
If they breed, they will spawn less. I don't know how many times. In the wild, I don't know. But if I don't let them breed, they will continue spawning every week. Breeding, maybe they will spawn 3 times or two times in the season, maybe 2 times, let's say. I don't know.
I think in the wild, that is not scientific, of course, but I think in the wild, when the rain comes, for example, in January, they start breeding for sure, because the other fish like tucunaré, peacock, also start breeding. So I think they are breeding for between January to May to June. So perhaps they bring in 3, 4 times.
Well, and we saw when I was there with you, we saw in the low Nyamunda. You remember that we saw those small fish that you kept 10, I kept 10, and you gave the other guy 10. Those fish were about let's say 8 centimeters, more or less. So they must be of the last time a pair was breeding those small juveniles.
Yeah, yeah. Paul Fernandes asked, what is the most easy fish to breeding, wilds of course, and more difficult to breed?
Well,
I know.
I didn't listen. What did you say, Hugo?
I know what you're gonna say, but please tell.
Well, the most difficult, obviously, will be hackles.
Yes,
no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
The other ones, the reds are all the same. They were all the same. That's only the location, but the type of fish is the same. No difference between breeding, let's say, our royal iripishi or our solid red quipiua. No difference in those. But hackles are a different story. A different story.
You never breed ankles.
No.
And
didn't have the lack.
But Ika, you have breed.
Icas, yes, I did. Yeah, I showed you last year. I think it was a pair that had a solid red iripishi with a red Ika. Yeah.
What is the best? What is the better for wild dudes? Discus water change and fresh water keep aquarium. It's difficult to understand. And what is the better for wild ducts discos for water change? I constantly have fresh water dropping in aquarium, 10% of the water. How do you organize the correct? I can reply this. It's I think the 10% by day, I think is a lot of change of water. I think you don't need that. I don't know what you think about what I'm gonna say, Juan. If we don't have nitrate, we don't need to change water, right?
No, we shouldn't change. If the water is not polluted, you don't need to change water. That was I started saying at the beginning that if you don't overfeed and you have a good filtration system, the water changes don't need to be very big ones and need to be so regular.
Yeah,
because the most important thing is the filtration. Yeah, and then also your the way you feed and the amount of food that you give the fish.
Because I have a question from Franco. He's a old breeder of wild discus, and he asked me in Italian. Sorry, Franco, non parla italiano, capisce? Lo parlo un poco solo. He asked me if we have 80 to 100 milligrams of nitrate. It's danger.
Well, the best thing is to not have them.
Yeah.
So you need to change the water to not have any. Yeah. But again, it depends of the filtration systems, the amount of food that you give them, and then you can decide how much water you change every week or every day or whatever. It depends of what you do with the fish.
Yeah, I think so. Juan, em espanhol, Juan, que produto utilizas você para aumentar o KG, a condutividade de tu acuario? Gracias.
Bueno, en realidad no utilizo ningún producto para subir o bajar la conductividad. Tengo la suerte de que el agua de mi zona me sale con unos parámetros ideales para mantener peces discos y más salvajes, así que no agrego ni pongo ni saco nada. El agua me sale, como dije, una conductividad de 140 microsiemens, es un agua muy linda para utilizar con Discus y no uso ningún producto.
Another question, this is in English, but you can reply in Spanish. It's Matias. I don't know if it's, but the name it's or Spanish or Portuguese. Why the ankle is more difficult? Thank you.
Buena pregunta. Primero el comportamiento. El comportamiento del Haeckel es totalmente diferente. Hay mucha gente que cree que el Haeckel es un pez que es retraído, que es tímido. Bueno, a mi manera de ver no es así. Cuando está en cardumen es más agresivo, es mucho más complicado de mantener porque se ponen más violentos que los otros salvajes. Y después la parte reproductiva, bueno, no sé por qué, pero lo que sí sabemos es que una hembra de Haeckel para que desove en cautiverio es bastante complicado. No es imposible porque hay mucha gente, no mucha, pero hay gente que ha reproducido Haeckels. Es algo difícil. En mi caso no lo he hecho, pero sí es muy difícil. Pero vuelvo a repetir, hay gente que piensa que el Haeckel es un pez tímido y yo creo que no, es al revés.
Es verdad, es verdad. I think the ankle when they comes for when we take them, they are true wilds because we come near the tanks and they are crazy when we go with the nets. But after a month, because for example, I have some ankles here, they stay here for 8 months, the oldest, and they come eating in my hand. So they are not anymore stressed fish. They are domesticated, I think, but each one have an opinion. My opinion, they are the most stressed fish, but with time, they lose that stress because,
yes, but I was not also speaking about the stress, but I was speaking about how they behave in the tank with other fish. They are not fish that would be, like, say, timid and get beside, always hiding. They will do that in the beginning, but then after they get all the stress out, they will be quite aggressive.
Yeah. I have Sherry from United States. A big kiss to Sherry, my good friend in Illinois. I hope you stay safe. How often do you clean the mechanical in your FX filter? Well, how many times you clean your filter?
Well, I do it once a month. Once a month I clean the filter. Once a month.
You take just the sponge, nothing more.
I take everything out and I clean it with the water of the aquariums, not with the tap water. Very important. If you want to maintain your bacteria in the material, use the tank waters, the water that you have your fish, and clean with that. Nothing else. Clean once a month all my filters, and that's it.
A question from from Turkey. Hello, Victor. The question is for you. What was the lowest water temperature in Amazon, and what the place, the community, the region? Books and information are only give average value of the monthly Amazon water temperature. You are the best search to learn the lowest temperature because you're living in the middle of Amazon. Well, Juan don't go to this place because he's staying in Amazon 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks we don't have time to see everything. We can be living in Amazon 14 years, 16 years, and we don't see absolutely nothing. Okay, so the important is to say is a place I have, and I think Juan knows because I have speak with him about that. Is a place in Lago Grande. Lago Grande, it's a little far away from Santarem. We go to Oshmirina is for the other side, Lago Grande, and I have seen the temperature at 22, 23. So a big current, a big flow, and very difficult to the fish swimming and goes. I have some videos with that, and the temperature is 22. So you can imagine. It's different but I have Lago Grande here, and they are with 26, and they are okay. It's funny to speak about this because the Lago Grande fish is the fish who start eating more quick. It's unbelievable, but when we put the fish in aquariums, they start eating very, very, very quick. Okay, I have another one. Tiene que ser interesante sin duda, Paulo, en que cuenta que estamos hablando de nivel de agua dulce. This is the continuing of some question you have to speak. Let's see another one. Can cleaning the filter once a month not be dangerous for the luring of the bacteria? It's more or less like you tell. You clean one time a month, but with the same water of the aquarium, right? For don't kill the bacteria.
That's right. I use the water of the aquariums, so don't kill the bacteria. If you use the water of the tap, you will kill the bacteria. Yeah, because they have chlorine.
But you never put some bacteria that ones we buy in the market.
No, never use that. Never in my life.
So you don't expend money in that kind of things in the market.
I don't say that it's useless, but I don't think that they are great or something that it would be a miracle. If you want to have bacteria in the filters, it takes time. The process of getting the mature aquarium, and that's it. In my opinion, some people use those bacteria that you can buy them, or activators of bacteria. I don't know how you call them, but I don't.
Yeah. A question from Paul. It's a nice question. Breeding wild discos is economic interesting, or is the pleasure more than the money?
Well, in my case, as I said when we started this chat, I am a sheep breeder, Australian merino sheep, and cattle breeder. So while this was for me, is my hobby and something that I love, and it's not a business for me. But obviously, when I have some, if I have many, some will be sold. But it's not for me. It's not a living. I don't make a living with fish.
But you think? Imagine one time you don't want to work more. What is your professional? And you think breeding wild discos in Uruguay can be, you can win money with that?
I think in Uruguay, no, it's not the case, because there's a very small market. Maybe in other places, yes, but in Uruguay, I think it's not. You wouldn't make a living out of breeding wild discus because the market is very, very small.
You spend a lot of money in electricity and water, or not?
Well, obviously, if I didn't have any fish, I wouldn't spend the amount that I do. But it's not much. It's not much. And now that I have a fish room that I made with very good materials, I'm spending maybe half of the electricity that I used to, because the fish room is very, very good to maintain the temperature. So not much. Obviously, that if you maintain fish, you will have an extra expenses.
Yeah, of course. Another question: should we add methylene blue when the eggs have fungus or start with fungus? Do you use methylene blue?
Well, that's a good question. I don't, but because normally, sometimes I used to do it, but many years ago, and not now. I don't use it anymore, but I don't say it's bad. I think it's okay. But if you use it when you see the eggs starting to get white, I think is you passed that moment. I think if you're going to use it, you have to use it before they get white. They are starting getting white. If they start getting white, they will all get white, and it's late. So if you want to use it, maybe you can use it, but before they get white.
You never have that problem.
Many years ago, I used it, but just as a prevention. But obviously, I get some. If I get the eggs are white, or they were not fertilized, or mostly that's a problem. They're not fertilized, or maybe they had direct sun or direct light that kill all the eggs. So that's very rare. But in my case, normally, if they are well fertilized, the eggs will go with no problem. If let's say we have a out of 300, 400 eggs, maybe you can see some white that the parents will take those white ones and they will take out from the group, so the other ones don't get the fungus. So that's it.
Yeah. How long you take the babies from the father and the mother? How you do? You take the pair, or you take the small young babies from another aquarium?
Well, it depends. If the parents are okay and they're not getting stressed or with injuries, maybe I'll let them stay for 25 days, a month, or a bit more. But if the parents are getting some injuries of the babies, from the babies, I will separate them. Usually what I do is take the babies out and let the pair where they are. Oh, yeah. I take the babies, not the pair.
And after 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Let's say 3 weeks, or maybe a bit more or a bit less, depending if the parents are okay or they are stressed or how they are. But more or less at that time.
One of these days, is not a question, it's just what your opinion. You are a breeder, not me. You think it's different when we have sand in aquarium with the pair or without sand? It's more easy, they breed with sand or without sand. What do you think about that?
Well, I will tell you all my experience with wilds and breeding in that way, in what you're asking me now. I have many pairs that have spawned on the communitarium, on the tank with the other group, with all the school of fish. And then I take them out and put them in a tank for breeding. And 90% of the time, they don't breed. So what I do is put them in a bigger tank with another pair, maybe, or other fishes. They spawn, and then I put, or take out the other ones, or put something to separate them. And then, about your question, yes, absolutely. I think that putting sand and some branches has a tremendous effect in them for breeding.
Oh, you
absolutely.
See? Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so yes, I always do that.
Oh, but you have to try without sand?
I tried, and it's not the same.
It's not the same.
With sand and branches, I had a lot better result than without.
Very nice.
But that's my
very nice advice for many people.
That's my case. I've tried a lot of things, but putting sand and branches make them feel better. They don't get so stressed, and I think it's easier for them to feel comfortable to start breeding.
Nice. Another question: do you choose your pairs yourself, sir, by sexing them, or do you let them pair off naturally in a group of fish and only separate the two pairs off?
Well, sorry. I let them get together as they get a pair. If they get paired, it's because they want to. And I've tried then after they spawn many times, or some try to mate, but with not much effort, not much success in trying to join them. I let them mostly join by themselves.
So you most of the time they come from Cuipewa and from Jaraqui or from other place, and they breed between them. You don't try to make, for example, Cuipewa with Cuipewa and Ripixi with the Ripixi, or no?
No, because what I did is what I try to do many times and do sometimes is try to put, let's say, royals with one side, solids in the other side, Icas in the other side. So mostly it's what I try to do. Right. That's why now I have let's say four pairs of solid reds that are really nice, and there's one pair, a royal with a solid red. But I'm not trying to breed, and in this moment I'm only trying to breed with 2 pairs now. I don't have time for more pairs.
And how many fish you have?
Well, at this moment I have in total I must have about 100, 110, counting some small ones. I had more, but when I had my holidays on summer, I had some fish that died because I left a person in charge and he did a mess with the food. So I lost a couple of very good fish. A couple, no, a good amount.
Yeah, you told me.
Yes, because I think it's very important that also you can speak about the nice things about that we breed, or I do that, or I do this. But also we had everybody has bad things coming. So it's nothing that makes you embarrassed. Say that you lost fish because they died, because someone messed up with the fish, they didn't do things correctly, because everyone happens those things, and everyone that has fishes loses fishes.
Of course. With what age you usually sell your discus, young discus? With age?
Well, I don't sell much, but for example, now I have about 60 that they are in the let's say 10 centimeters, well maybe 11 or 10, yes, and I'm going to sell some now, not before. I want to see them get big and see the colors and see the shape, and after that, yes.
Yeah. How many times you feeding your fish by day?
Mostly twice, or the adults twice a day, or twice a day, let's say. And the juveniles, let's say 4 times a day or 3. Well, if you're breeding, I try to every 3 hours or 4 hours. I try to feed them with a brine shrimp I'm talking about babies, no?
Let's speak about one thing. I think that have happened with you and happens with many guys who have wild discus. The problem, the disease of the spinning. What do you think about that? What is why that happens?
Very good question.
First, I need to tell you, we are working with Manuel's Aquarium for a long time to try to find why that happens. It needs time and research. But I know one of these days, Manuel's Aquarium will have the results, and perhaps they're going to make a medicament. Because I have a lot of people who comes to me and say, no, it's not your fish, but they are spinning. Your fish also spinning? And I say, yes, 0.01 or 0.2, that happens. What do you think about why that happens? What do you think?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know. It's something that, in my case, I had many fish, let's say, with that problem, spinning, getting crazy. Remember the 10 that you gave me when I came from the Amazon, the small ones, the heckles? Well, they all died because they spinned and they got killed crashing against the glasses of the tanks. And I don't know what's the cause of it, because I supposed many things and they were not correct. I've spoken with many breeders in the world, and everyone has a different theory. So to tell you the truth, I don't know. But
Yeah.
one thing that it make, in my case, I got it lower, and I nearly don't have more cases now. I think it was related with some downfalls of very drastic downfalls of the pH in my case. And now when I put the coral sand in the filters, I don't have more crazy fish. Maybe in my case, that was a problem, and the fish got crazy because something in the water. But I think it must be something that makes them get some kind of intoxication that makes the nervous system bad. I don't know, but it's a problem. I don't know really the cause. Many people say they know, but to tell you the truth, I don't think nobody knows.
Nobody knows that. I speak with, of course, I speak many times a week with the guys from Manuel's Aquarium, and they say they have the same problem with domestic fish from a Gemini breeder. And some of the fish they have to make the research is hybrid Discus. And, well, they don't understand why. I tell you, when we start make the quarantines with the medicaments for Manaus Aquarium, that stop. But in some cases, ankle also have the problem. And I don't know, is the people who use osmosis inverse. Perhaps is like you tell last minutes. It's when we change the quality of water with the osmosis. We take a lot of minerals off the water, and perhaps they need some of them. And I think mixed water. I don't agree with osmosis. I'm sorry. I prefer to make everything natural, but it's my opinion.
Yes, might be, but to tell you the truth, as I say, nobody knows why they spin and get crazy. Many theories, yes, I've heard many theories. Also, I've heard people that say they never got a fish crazy. That can be, but it's very strange because if everyone has, or maybe one or two, but you have some cases, as I saw some cases in Amazon, yeah, we saw some. So it's very strange that someone tells you that they don't have any. I don't know. It's a problem, and it would be really nice if we could really know what's going on with that strange.
But you know, for most of the exporters, they don't want to speak about that.
I imagine, yes.
I'm not crazy, but I don't have to hide nothing. I have that problem in the past, and sometimes happen. But of course, it's a very small percentage. But of course, happens sometimes in Amazon, and most of the time, of course, with the ankle. Why that happens, I really don't know until now. And we have lost a lot of hours, not lost, but speaking with each other by WhatsApp about the disease. Remember, you tell me, perhaps is the food, perhaps is. We have so many theories, but we never can know why that happens.
Yes, many theories, and we spoke a lot. Also, I've been speaking with other breeders, as I tell some people here from Uruguay also, that they are interested in trying to know what's going on. But the truth is, nobody knows, and it's a pity. But if you tell me that Manaus people are trying to find the cause of it and maybe have a medicament, that would be a great news.
The problem, it's to make a new medicament. It's a lot of research and money involved. And it's not so many fish with this problem. So it's what Andreas from Manaus Aquarium tell me. It's Hugo. We can find why this happened, but I don't know if we're gonna make a medicament because there is a few percentage of the fish who have this problem, and I think you have reason.
Yes, I know, but if even though they don't make a medicament, knowing the cause, that would be great.
Of course,
if we can know what's making the fish get crazy, that would be excellent.
I have Paulo tell he have some problems with the spinning discus, crazy discus, when have the pH near the 5, and that make a big stress for the fish and can make problems in the nervous system of the fish. Perhaps that.
Well, and sometimes it happens with, to adding of what he was telling the Pablo, that sometimes I get crazy fish when I'm doing the water changes. So, and that we can see that something in that it might be pH or water changes or in the conductivity or something can be part of it.
Yeah.
Of the problem.
What do you think about mineral supplements? And do you use any mineral supplements in your fish, especially for your baby's fish when you breed?
Well, I don't think they're bad. Maybe you can use them. I don't use them. I don't, as I tell you, I use the water just that it comes from the tap. And what I tell you, what I could use is to make the babies grow better, is to use get the water harder, and that's okay for the babies. Yes, it's good. I don't use it for the adults, but to tell you this, I could use it with the babies, and it's not bad. But I don't use it really. Use them. Sorry.
I don't use also. I don't use nothing because I like to make everything natural. I use catapa, I use pit turf to down the pH, but I don't like osmos. What I use, of course, the food. I use vitamins, and I use the vitamin also important for the human is the vitamin D, and but that is important to use. Sometimes I use 2-3 times a week, and I put in the flakes or in the grams. But vitamins, the food comes with vitamins, so I think it's not.
Yes, I agree with you that
you don't use vitamins.
No, I'm telling you that I agree that you have the vitamins, you have them in all the food that you gave them. So I think if you have a well balanced feeding the fish with a well balanced food, it's enough. That's my opinion. No, many people.
Tell me. Sorry.
No, that many people add vitamins to the beef heart, for example, and add this or that. That I don't say it's bad, but if you have a well-balanced food for your fish, you don't need to put many things in it.
Yeah. You have used osmos, right? I have a question here. A guy, Vivaldo André, used osmos with the Discus trace. Have you used osmos? Yes, I think you.
Yes, I've been.
And why you stop?
Well, I used to because now I stopped because the water from my tap changed. I used to have a water that was different from the water I have now, and I think the water changed because now they are using more water from the river in the water that comes from the tap than before. Because the water in my city comes from the river and it's mixed with water that comes from the underground. I think now, for the last maybe 7-8 years, they are mixing more water from the river, so the water is softer.
And when you use osmosis, you use trace elements?
No, I didn't use anything.
Yeah,
I used to mix 30% of osmosis water with normal water.
It's something I don't understand, Juan. Why people want just to keep wild discos, not to breeding, and why they use osmos? Because you remember we have in the boat Francis. Remember?
Yes, of course. Yes.
And in that time, Francis tell me he have a pH 7.8, and he import our fish from Santarem, and the fish are really nice, and they keep the fish with that pH. The same happens with my Chinese customer. The same happens with my Portuguese in Portugal customer. And when I know him and I go to the farm, and he have a pH 7.5, 7.6, and the fish are okay. I don't understand why the people want to keep the fish not to breeding and want to put the fish with the pH using the osmos and put the pH 6 and 5, and well, I don't understand. It's crazy. Why they use osmos? For what?
Well, it's supposed to. I measured, for example, I measured the lower Nyamunda. I measured conductivity And when I have a picture of that, and it was 13 microsiemens, 13. So if you want to reach that, it's impossible.
Is it possible?
And maintaining fish in a pH, let's say 4.5 or 5, it's really dangerous, because if it goes down, you will kill all. So I prefer to maintain, as I started talking with you, and we started talking today, trying to maintain the water that you can stable. The water has to be, all the parameters of the water stable, and don't play with the pH up and down, and the conductivity and that or that. I know people that have bred wilds in 6.8, and they did okay, and maybe conductivity of 250, 280, and they did okay. The conductivity is important for the fertilizing the eggs and the hatching of the egg, but that it nothing to do to spawning. They can spawn in 7 or 6.8.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Yes, I have your opinion. Just the conductivity, for example, I have a question here. It's how is the best conductivity for and pH for the wild breeding? My opinion, that the pH is not important. The conductivity cannot be more than 300, because in the past I have breeding discos, not wilds, just one time, and here in the farm, but with more than 300, the eggs explode because the depression of the osmosis of the water. What do you think? It's like that?
Yes, and let's say, in my opinion, with wilds, I would say, you say that 300 with domestic discus. In wilds, I think having conductivity of 200 in that age, that area, it's okay. As I tell you, I have 130, 140. That's the conductivity that my water has, and it works okay. I don't need to be 60, 50 microsiemens in conductivity. And many people get obsessed about that, and they go down and down and down.
Yes.
And then they get obsessed getting the conductivity down. The fish don't spawn, the fish don't mate, so they get it up, and then they say, no, let's put it higher, and then 150 and 200, and that's when the fish get sick.
Absolutely. I also have cherry. I use RO, osmosis inverse, and how I can get down my conductivity, because my conductivity is very high. My advice is, I have 300 microsiemens in this farm. It's not so high, but I use in the last weeks, perhaps more or less 1 month, the catappa leaves, and down for 120. So I have a good water to breeding fish when I put the catappa. So use catappa leaves, and the conductivity gonna down for sure. If down here, gonna down in your house. That it's my experience, and I just speak about my experience. Of course, it's important when we speak with Juan, because Juan have a different experience, and sometimes it's more or less the same, but some things are different. It's because we are here to speak. To have success, must make the tap water exactly like the aquarium, with the same pH and the same ppm. Yes, of course. Isn't it? We have talked about that. Change water must be with the same pH.
Oh, and same. Yes. The water must be the same. You try. The only thing I try to change when I do water changes, and it's for spawning, is I try to get 2 degrees lower the water. Make it get 2 degrees lower after the water changes. That it gets them with they feel, I think they want to spawn.
Yeah. Okay, past 1 hour and a half. The time passed very quick speaking with you, Juan. It's a pleasure. I miss you, like you know. This year,
me too, my friend.
Yeah, I need to be with you in Amazon, because you are more than a friend. It's the people who I really like. Just to finish, what is your advice for the guys who wants to breeding wild discos? Just the last advice.
Well, I think in the hour and a half that we talked, I said it more than once. The water, the parameters of the water might be stale. Don't play with the water, and be patient and let them do what they do naturally. They will mate and they will spawn. Don't get anxious.
Can you say that in Spanish? Is someone who say gracias, gracias? Please, speak that in Spanish.
Bueno, lo último que estaba diciendo era consejos para intentar criar salvajes, es tener paciencia, no ponerse ansiosos, que ellos se van a juntar, se van a parear y van a desovar. Y no jugar con el agua, dejar los parámetros estables y más que nada eso, nada más.
Vale. Juan, muchas gracias. I have another question for the Catapas, but guys, we're gonna stop. It's time. It's 1 hour and a half. Usually it's just 1 hour. I just want to say thanks a lot to Juan to accept this my invite to speak about what he made breeding so many wild discos. And Juan, thanks a lot. Keep safety, man. I hope to have you in Amazon this year.
Okay, thank you for this invite, my friend, and I miss you. I told you I'm going to see you there in the Amazon. Everything will be okay, and we'll do this again. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Juan. Big hug.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Well, it's time to finish this direct. We have next Friday Mr. Andreas from Manuel's Aquarium. If you have questions about disease, about the products from Manuel's Aquarium, come. We're gonna make some publicity about this next live shot about disease, and stay with us, follow our page. We want to help everybody. We don't have nothing to hide. We speak about everything. Also what this is, like the crazy discos, nobody speak about that. We want to help everybody, so we don't have nothing to hide. And thanks for follow our live chat, and thanks again to Juan to spend his time in a Sunday. And to everybody in the world who see this live chat, gonna be soon in YouTube. Keep safety and love your wild discos and your discos. This is the most beautiful world of we have living. Is have a nice aquarium with very nice discos. To all, a big kiss from Portugal. See you Friday with Manuel's Aquarium. Thanks to come with us and see what we're speaking about. Thank you. Have a good Sunday, guys.